arms again to safeguard his nation. It's quite a lot to process in terms of weighing implications, but let's bring in our expert guests to do just that. We have with us Ambassador S.R. Tayal, former senior diplomat, several responsibilities over the years that he was in service, and we also have foreign affairs expert Sandeep Tripathi. First to you, Ambassador Tayal. Did you ever think that MAGA would come to this now? Not just Maduro handcuffed in New York, set to face American justice, but also there's more, it seems, to be played out here.
Two things are clear, that the world order is being reset at a very fast pace, and most of the countries of the world are mute witness to this reset. Second, that every statement of President Donald Trump has to be taken seriously. And earlier, many believed that he makes statements which should be taken seriously, but need not be taken literally. But now, perhaps, all his statements have to be taken with due seriousness and also literally. So, yes, what has been done in Venezuela, absolutely not unprecedented. It has these kind of things have happened in the past. But after the end of the Cold War, there was a certain degree. Russia moving into Ukraine, China attacking India, and South China Sea, Philippines, etc. They are expanding. And now the United States in Venezuela. And that means that might is right. That kind of world is coming back. And that is very worrying. And as India says, it is not the time of war, but the most powerful nations, if they pursue their national interest, perceived national interest, at the expense of all the rights, sovereignty, etc., of smaller countries, weaker countries in zone, and everybody has to work together to try to check this decline in the world order.
Right. Interesting. You said that most nations are mute when a UN Security Council meeting is on, and the Secretary General has expressed concern about what has happened, saying that it's not in consonance with the kind of laws that exist, international laws. But this is all mounting perhaps to hand wringing, and because nobody is backing it up with any action. And is that also because Sandeep Tripathi, Maduro himself is a man who's tough to back up? He was globally seen largely as a despot, but when it comes to other nations that Donald Trump has named, things might be different.
First of all, thank you so much for having me here. See, this is a very unprecedented in international relations. Last 25 years, if we can see, we have not seen such kind of visuals. A state of head, elected state of head, kidnapped, a country invaded by USA. I think these visuals reminds us, first of all, that UNO has become a totally showroom. What about today Article 2, Clause 4 of the United Nations Charter? Does UK and France have any courage and conviction to say something about this action of Trump? Even the founding member of the NATO is not safe. Denmark is saying, don't threat us. Even EU member Denmark is not safe. Who is safe today? This is the question. Might is that we all know.
It's a NATO member as well.
But Simon's theory is self-help, the concept of self-help we all know. But there is some sense of order. There was somehow, once upon a time, that America is known as Pax Americana. Even entire European country, the Western order is not, there is a lot of anxiety is there. But there is no clear. So this is the question, a person who has come into the power to end the war forever. Now he has started this new year 2026 to start the war forever. Now, first invaded Venezuela, kidnapped the head of state, no, Maduro, and then saw the open visuals, the kind of visuals are showing. This is a clear humiliation. It's not only the humiliation for Venezuela, it's a humiliation in the entire diplomatic community across the world. Who is safe? The question is, if the might is right, if the might will prevail, so what about the UNO? The notion of United Nations, UN, United Nations organizations, our nations are united against this crime, against this hegemony of the Trump. This is the fundamental question today. Now, the second point is that now he is again alarming, he's again warning to the Gustavo Petro in Colombia and Cuba. He's saying that Cuba is going to be fall very soon. And now I'm in the position to run the country. This was the motto of the Trump, to run the Venezuela. It was not the question of drug cartel, the question of the to capture the largest proven oil reserve in the Venezuela. This was the motto. If the motto is
let's take that point up with Ambassador Tayal. You're talking about the oil. Venezuela for years said that this is what the Americans are after, and it seems that Donald Trump, although he went after Venezuela as a narco-terrorist sort of state setup, but immediately after Maduro's captured, it all also seemed to indicate that interest in oil is also a major motivating factor for this kind of a move. But can Venezuelan oil be exploited in the way that Donald Trump has conveyed, Ambassador Tayal? Because a lot of experts have been saying that it's not going to be easy, because Venezuela's oil production has fallen drastically over the years. It's just a fraction of what it used to be because of the industry itself becoming completely more abundant. Billions will have to be invested at a time when oil prices internationally are supposed to drop further. So why would even American oil companies, their stocks might be rising right now, be willing to do that?
Gautam, we have to see also the National Security Strategy 25, which has come, which very clearly focuses that the attention of US is on Western Hemisphere, and Western Hemisphere will be entirely that Monroe Doctrine, a variation of Monroe Doctrine, will be under the control of United States, including ownership of key assets. Now, oil, of course, 300 billion barrels of oil reserves are there in Venezuela, which is not very easy to extract. But Venezuela was selling that oil in many ways to other countries like China in yuan. Then also Venezuela has lot of rare earths and minerals, very huge quantities.
Gas as well.
Those contracts were also given to China. There was presence of Cuban troops there, which because 30 Cubans have died in the day before yesterday's operation, which has been acknowledged by the government of Cuba. There were Russian defense advisors in Venezuela. So it is a very complicated game that no foreign presence will be allowed by United States in the entire Western Hemisphere. We all recall that in Panama Canal there were 2 Chinese companies operating, and President Trump, United States, threatened Panama, and those companies were thrown out. So it is part of a larger objective which has been very clearly enunciated in NSS 25, that no country of Western Hemisphere will be allowed to have any connection with any other country which is detrimental to the interests of the United States of America.
And what about Greenland? That's not part of the Western Hemisphere. That's part of, well, Europe. It's part of NATO, being an autonomous territory of Denmark.
Somehow, even that NSS 25 talks very disparagingly about Europe. And the most concern has been expressed that Europe is losing its identity, it is losing its civilizational character, and it will not remain Europe, you know, that immigration and all of that. So somehow President Trump and his advisors and his thought leaders are very upset with the Europe that it is open to immigrants. They are losing their character and they are very weak. So this is very the powerful respect only the powerful. So only country whom President Trump and the United States don't really criticize is China, and to a certain extent President Putin and Russia. So it is one has to see all this very carefully. That is some kind of a imperial game is being played again, where the world may be divided, like a new Yalta is coming up. There are all kinds of very difficult questions in the future, where middle powers like India, Japan, all the European countries have to think very deeply and try to understand which way the world is headed and how we can protect our own interests, because no power, the so-called big powers, are now in any way interested in protecting the interests of middle powers or even smaller countries.
Right. So it's each to himself or themselves, it seems. But Sandeep Tripathi, in that scenario, where do you see, well, not just the arms race going, but you know, the entire fight, really, a tussle over resources as well, and how can countries like ours ensure that our interest is you know, paramount?
See, this is the time where there is a program, Atmanirbhar Bharat, defense, hub, manufacturing hub, and I think, and at the same time, we have to be very careful to maintaining our relationship with the major powers also. So I think this is the right time to introspect also and to speak out very categorically, not to shy, and we have to be very bold and clear to point out our stand at the global level. I think, let me remind you, UK and France, the Western countries, they were asking about India's stand on Russia-Ukraine war. Now we are asking the question from the UK and France, what is your stand on the Venezuela? So this is the right time. We have to come out with a very bold and big questions, that if there is nothing, any kind of rule of law, nothing kind of international law, who will decide the law? And that's why India is standing at the global stage as the voice of global South. I think the world will listen India's voice, and our voice will be counted if we are strong. So the only one thing in international relation is our power, the power maximization. And if we are powerful, then we can protect a country like from America. Even USA has harm a lot to India. 50% tariff is what? Is a clear stagnation to tone down India's power. India is stranding. So this is the fact that if we have to survive in this anarchical order, we have to expand our power. Nothing else beyond this.
All right. Well, there you have it. That's the advice that could be taken by all nations. But surely, in the case of India, India is the fastest the fastest growing large economy as well. It is in a position where it can make these sort of lofty goals a reality as well. So one has to bear that in mind too. Thank you so much for joining us, both Ambassador Tayal as well as President Tripathi.